Hey folks, welcome back once again to Indaba Africa. This is Chris. Well, it didn't take long for the race merchants over at the pathetic excuse for a fraudulent political party known as the Economic Freedom Fighters to come up with their race-baiting mercantilism once again, idiotic nonsense perpetuated by the Economic Freedom Fighters. You know these clowns, and we'll talk about them here on this report on Indaba Africa. Well, folks, as I said, it did not take the EFF very long to get their act in the game. On the same day that a group of peaceful presence, South Africans, white and black, showed up in Senekal in the Northern Free State to show the revulsion at the domestic terrorism, the political violence, and the assassination murder of 21-year-old Brendan Horner, a farm manager on a farm in the Northern Free State. They show up at the arraignment of the two suspected murderers. Thousands of South Africans, white and black, turn up. Peacefully assemble. Do not bother or harm anyone. Series of speeches, presentations in English, Afrikaans, and Tswana. Spoken by a variety of speakers peacefully hundreds of meters away from where the courthouse is. As the suspects are at the courthouse, a group of people moves towards the courthouse and pushes their way inside the courthouse. The police incite violence by firing a firearm inside the building, 2 rounds. Despite the fact that many people were lawfully armed with sidearms, there was no retaliation from the public, showing tremendous amount of restraint in the face of unbelievably poor conduct by the South African Police Service. Ill discipline, rash behavior, reckless driving, dangerous conduct, and cowardly retreats were the order of the day for the SAPs. Yes, yet the race merchants themselves, the Economic Freedom Fighters, have come out with their usual nonsense. I have here in my hands the press release from the Economic Freedom Fighters, these buffoons. You remember them. Just a short time ago, they called for domestic terrorism and violence against a company, Clicks, because of an ad that was insensitive to some black South Africans. And so the company made the mistake of publishing it online, an ad from a third party from Tresemme, which some black South Africans found offensive. It was removed within a short period of time. The company profusely apologized for it, but that wasn't good enough for the EFF, this faux political party, an actual terrorist organization described as a political party, with members in parliament running around in prison jumpsuits, acting like buffoons. They've been exposing themselves since the moment they first arrived in the South African parliament. They're an embarrassment to South Africa, and they're dangerous. And their leader has called for genocide, for murdering people based on the color of their skin, lied about the history of South Africa when his education barely makes it out of primary school. But let's talk about this press release and refute this nonsense. The EFF condemns the cowardice of SAPs amidst violent protests by white people. Well, there's the first lie. There were no violent protests. The Economic Freedom Fighters condemns the pathetic cowardice of the South African Police Service when confronted with violence and aggression by white people. By white people. Okay, so let's open up the can of worms of racism and bigotry from the Economic Freedom Fighters. In what was a blatant sign of a lack of respect for their puppet regime and its authority, white people vandalized, tipped over, and burnt police vehicles outside a South African court of law. Well, factually incorrect. A vehicle was tipped over, and the vehicle caught on fire by all accounts from those present. No one lit it on fire. That should not have happened. That is a criminal act. But it was a vehicle, so let's get your facts straight, you buffoons. These individuals are arrogant as a result of the ANC-led government, which suffers from low self-esteem and a fear of whiteness. A fear of whiteness. Are you serious? The same government that institutionalizes racism with broad-based black economic empowerment, discriminating against minority South Africans, white, colored, and Indian, discriminating against them in employment, in education, in access to government tenders, cutting them completely out simply on the basis of their skin color, is afraid of whiteness. What a sad group of people you are to believe that. Committed these violent acts knowing very well no force would be shown against them because of the color of their skins. Really, no force would be shown against them. Then how do we account for the violent murder that takes place in South Africa against rural South Africans on nearly a daily basis? No violence used against them. Unlike the countless times where we've seen law enforcement used against black people who protest peacefully for genuine issues, the white men who terrorized police outside of court law operated with impunity. No one terrorized anyone. If anything, the police are the ones who terrorized people. It was the police who drove recklessly down the street into a crowd of people crossing the street, putting their lives in jeopardy, several people being grabbed at the last moment so they wouldn't be struck by the vehicle. And then it turned into and drove the vehicle into the courthouse. That was the police, not white South Africans. It was the police that discharged a firearm inside the courthouse, not white South Africans. It was the police who cowardly tossed flashbang grenades at people standing on the side of the street, simply observing events, not participating in anything, and then cowardly fled down the road in a reckless manner. That was the police, not white people. This is a stark contrast to the Marikana mine workers who were massacred while retreating. That's a lie. The Marikana mine workers were toying and advancing on the police and were fired upon when they refused to back down. They brought it upon themselves. Doesn't excuse the police behavior. It was a police failure of training, of leadership especially. And that's what happens when you put politically appointed people in charge of law enforcement, or you promote people based on their skin pigmentation, not on their qualifications. That's what you get. Piss poor leadership. Yeah. Shot down like dogs. They weren't shot down like dogs. They were shot facing the people that they were attacking with pungas and knob carries. It was unlike the brave fees must fall generation who were constantly confronted by rubber bullets, tear gas, and at times live ammunition. That's a bunch of nonsense. The fees must fall clowns destroyed state property, destroyed universities, tore down statues, threatened people based on their skin pigmentation, and segregated and attacked white students. Yeah, that's what the brave fees must fall clowns did. There are no reported arrests of these aggressive acts by white people. No, there were no reported arrests. The only act that merited any arrest potentially would have been the tipping over the vehicle. That's it. It is a strong affirmation that it's truly the black skin that is whelping to violence and disrespect. Who runs the country there, dipstick? It's the ANC, which is a majority black party, which has members from all ethnic groups, but it's a majority black party. It runs the country for 26 years now. You know, the party that you were a member of the Youth League, Julius Malema, the one you stole from and accumulated a fortune through your access, not through your acumen. Yeah, that's the one. Not a single rubber bullet was fired at these white people, and this on the sole basis that white skin commands respect in this country while black lives do not matter. Really? White skin commands respect? Really? You moronic sack. You seriously say that? At a day when people showed up peacefully, assembled peacefully. There was no demonstrations. People were assembling peacefully on the hillside, listening to speeches. The police prompted any activity here. They're the ones who overreacted and used violence, not the people on the street. Where black lives do not matter, white lives do. Do they really? Then explain to me why 21-year-old farm manager, not a farm owner, born after apartheid, was murdered by thugs. Tortured first, brutally tortured, stabbed repeatedly, beaten, and hung from a pole. And you say that white lives command more respect than black lives. You're so full of crap, your eyes are brown, Julius Malema. Cyril Ramaphosa, who is a pet of white monopoly capital. Here we go again with this fictional narrative about white monopoly capital for a country whose middle class is now majority black. That's right. Has put the country at the mercy of his masters. The only master Cyril Ramaphosa has is the African National Congress. They block roads without being dispersed and burn police vehicles. Again, a lie. A police vehicle was tipped over. A police vehicle, a single. I know the language is difficult for you, Juju, but a vehicle is singular. Vehicles is plural. A single vehicle was tipped over. Get your facts right before you perpetuate your lies. Block roads. Roads weren't blocked. There were no roads blocked. The police were able to access to the courthouse. Recklessly, but they were able to access just fine. The road was not blocked. Speaking of blocking roads, Juju, your idiots were out digging up roads and highways with pickaxes, destroying state property just days ago at your behest, at your command, you comical commander-in-chief. And they do this because they know full well that their boy is in charge. Talk about condescending and insulting. Cyril Ramaphosa, when will you start taking the threat from the economic freedom fighters to public safety as a serious matter? When will your feckless Minister of Police, Bekele, get off his fourth point of contact and do something about safety in South Africa. 60 murders a day, women brutally raped, murdered, defiled, children raped, child trafficking, farm murders, cash in transit heist. And you're proud of the fact that you criminalized the law-abiding behavior of 250,000 South Africans, overwhelmingly white and colored, and that's why you're excited about it, Beckett Seeley. That's why you sat there with glee and cheered and smiled when you announced that 230,000 South Africans had been arrested during the lockdown. How many of them were in the townships? Very few. How many of them were in rural South Africa? Very few. Overwhelmingly in suburban neighborhoods, particularly in the Western Cape. Funny that, for the serious capital crime of surfing or nursing an infant or standing in your yard. The EFF calls for the immediate arrest of each and every white person that was part of the disrespect for law enforcement and burning state property. Again, you got your story wrong. No one burned state property. A vehicle caught on fire after it was tipped over. People are responsible for that loss of state property. But what about the state property that your jackasses destroyed? The roads dug up with pickaxes. What about that, Julius Malema? What about the damage that you've inflicted by encouraging the murder of South Africans? What about the damage from the clowns at UCT and Rhodes who destroyed statues, damaged classrooms, damaged buildings? That's state property. Didn't hear you calling about that. Apparently violence works when you commit it or your acolytes commit it. We reiterate that I missed a spot here. I've got to do this real quick. Failure to do so will effectively mean that this country is under the firm control of a white militia. Here we go with the fictional white militia. Peaceful people show up to express their revulsion. The police attack those people, fire weapons in a crowded courthouse, rush vehicles in, drive armored vehicles into the building, knocking the wall down. And you blame this on people who are standing around observing this. The police throwing flashbang grenades at people who are not even involved in this because they're cowards. You got that part right, Juju. We reiterate that Cyril Ramaphosa's reign as president is one that is controlled by Stellenbosch and the Oppenheimers. Why didn't you mention Jan van Riebeck? How is he missing from your lies and your storytelling? So long as he remains at the helm of political power in this country, violent white people will continue to treat this country like their playground. Violent white people. Really? What planet are you living on? The cognitive dissonance for anyone that observes these events and concludes that anything that the economic freedom fighters put out in their press release is legitimate is beyond comprehension. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a political party that is less a political party and a gang of thugs. Yet they sit in parliament with their obnoxious red jumpsuits looking like sanitation workers and their disruptive behavior, disrupting the business of government on a daily basis when they sit in parliament, calling for the murder of South Africans with no repercussions whatsoever, singing violent, vile, racist songs and getting away with it, pilfering from the Venda Bank, the VBS Bank, stealing money left and right. This is the economic freedom fighters. This is a dangerous entity in South Africa. And it is high time that the South African government start addressing this problem and start dealing with this party for what it is and investigating its criminal actions. Ladies and gentlemen, it's beyond belief that it's not beyond belief. This is the norm. We've come to expect this from Julius Malema, Floyd Shivambu, and their clown car of pretend politicians. The South Africans that vote for this party should be ashamed of themselves. Should be ashamed of yourselves. This party isn't concerned about your interest. It's concerned about creating chaos so that it can lead to the downfall of the ANC. I have no objections to the ANC being voted out of power. They certainly deserve it. Their governance has been atrocious, particularly since the ascension of Jacob Zuma and continues since his departure. In fact, gotten worse. And for that, they should be called to account at the ballot box. But the economic freedom fighters are dangerous, inciting domestic terrorism against cliques, calling for the murder of South Africans, and then distorting one argument after another. Well, folks, if you are not a subscriber to Chris White Africa, feel free to take a moment, subscribe to the channel by pushing that button right down there. Be sure to toggle that bell icon so you get notified of updates to my channel. And I ask that if you want to leave a comment, feel free to do that. And if you don't mind, smash the like button because likes drive viewership. And this has been my treatise on the economic freedom fighters' ludicrous response to Senekal and the peaceful assembly of South Africans who showed up with their revulsion at the murder, the political assassination, the domestic terrorism for the arraignment of the two suspects in the murder of 21-year-old South African born-free farm manager Brendan Horner. Well, folks, thanks a lot for your patience, for your patronage, and your support. God bless and have a good day. Unless you're in the EFF. I hope you have a miserable day.